So we are talking about today the entertainment and the fashion and the music connection with Andy. And first of all, I really would love that he talk about his past a little bit.
Cool. Thank you. So my past, in a nutshell, I grew up in London, in South London. I didn't go to university. I left school at 16 and kind of got involved in club culture. And through getting involved in club culture, I became a journalist, and I wrote about music, but also fashion and subculture and activism for things like The Face and ID. Dazed and Confused. I did that for about 10 years, and then I moved into the world of agencies, and I've run a couple of agencies. The first was a creative agency. The second was a cultural strategy agency. We work with people like Nike and Adidas and H&M and IKEA and Apple and Google and Netflix. I built those up and sold them. And now I'm back doing other projects, including writing. And one of the things I've worked on over the last year is a book called Selling the Night, which explores how dance music kind of connects with the wider creative industries, whether that's fashion or tourism or cosmetics or advertising or media, and trying to work out how dance music has had an impact on those other spaces.
And did you make the strategy in your own agency? And this was the point that the idea came in your mind to combine these different industries?
Yeah, kind of. So the sort of work we did, particularly in my second agency, Crowd DNA, we would get called in by brands because they wanted to understand what was happening in culture and what that meant for their brand. So, they might be concerned that there was just a shift going on in culture that they needed to keep up with. So we would go out there and explore what's happening culturally. We'd come back with kind of key trends for them, and then they would use those trends to either shape their adverts or their brand or the products they create. We didn't only work in music, but we had lots of briefs that were to do with music, and it might be fashion brands that were trying to work out how do we engage with music and how do we do that in a way that's kind of authentic and incredible and isn't just a brand turning up and putting up its posters and banners. How do you bring something sort of meaningful to the culture? So I've been in loads and loads of those conversations. Also, I have always been involved with club culture as well, so I feel I've seen it from both sides of the divide in a way. So it felt like a good topic to write a book about.
In your panel, you talked about the 90s and the connection with an Italian brand and the club culture. Can you share a little bit more about this interesting connection?
I can. It was actually earlier. It was more the 1970s and the 1980s. So I think one of the first really strong examples of a brand, and it was a fashion brand, trying to leverage club culture, was Fiorucci, which was a very big Italian fashion brand, born in Milan, but it also got quite famous in London and then in New York. And Elio Fiorucci was very, very keen on disco culture. He saw a way to reach a new audience and to present fashion differently. So Fiorucci, the brand, it sponsored club nights. It dressed clubbers. It had a flagship store in New York that was described as the disco of the daytime. So it had a amazing sound system. It had a dance floor in it. Andy Warhol made Interview magazine in it. So it was all of these kind of forms of creativity on the go there. And when you look at the aesthetic of Fiorucci, it really has that same aesthetic of disco at the time. So I think that's just a really interesting example of how a brand kind of found a lovely connection with music. And other interesting stories, as I mentioned earlier. So Fiorucci was also the guy that created stretch denim jeans. He was the inventor of stretch denim, and apparently he came across that idea. Here in Ibiza, you'd see all these kind of bohemian hippie types going swimming in their jeans, and that was what gave him the idea for stretch denim.
And what about the future brand connection with the fashion, which was also very interesting to hear about it in your panel with the telecom director guy, how the telecom, electronic beats and the fashion is coming together in the future.
Yeah, I guess in general, fashion brands are just trying to come up with more interesting ways to engage with music. So, you've always had fashion shows, and you've had music that soundtrack the fashion show, but they're increasingly working with DJs in more advanced ways. So rather than just someone turning up and playing a bunch of records, they're actually kind of co-designing the night. So you got people like Robert Hood and Richie Hawtin who are kind of working with brands like Givenchy and actually creating these quite interesting collaborations. And Prada Extends was another one. where Richie Hawtin, I think it was 3 other DJs, did this kind of thing in different cities, and it's way above just a DJ soundtracking the catwalk. There's a much higher level of thought going into the ways to collaborate. And then you've got DJs that are kind of making their own clothing ranges. As now you've got the likes of sort of Peggy Gao now, who are a DJ but also an influencer and a fashion designer as well. And Honey Dijon is another one. So you're getting all of these really interesting examples of different kind of convergences between music and fashion.
And which part of the electronic music business and the fashion business which motivate you or interesting for you nowadays? You saw a lot. You lived a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I like the music really, and you know that you have to like the music, but I love all of the industry around it, and I like the idea of the creative industries when they're at their best, and that there is this sort of interconnectedness that you can be working in music, but you can also make links to fashion or to advertising or to media or to gaming or whatever it may be. So I love the idea that, you know, dance music has all of these kind of impacts on other worlds. As I said in my presentation, it is tough these days because once upon a time it felt it was a bit easier for people to make these leaps. You know, you could start in club culture and before you know it you were working in fashion or design or whatever it may be. This is a tougher world for people to operate in, particularly younger people coming through these days. But I spoke to a lot of people who still see the power of club culture at creating opportunities.
And do you believe in the power of the social media still nowadays, or something has changed your mind, seeing the different trends?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all probably wanting social media to work in different ways now. I don't think it will ever not be there. I think we have reached a saturation point of it taking over our lives and mobile phones taking over our lives, and just even the fact that, you know, this expression IRL, that used to just be normal living, but now we give it a name, IRL, and it's almost not the normal. The normal's digital, and it's more of a thing to go IRL. So, but I think more and more people are understanding the value of, you know, social interaction. Digital will still play a role, but I think social media that isn't always on is the way forward. Social media that you use occasionally for a particular purpose, rather than social media that just completely invades every minute of your life, is what we all want.
Meanwhile, I was listening your speech today. I had a feeling that you saw a lot, you shaped a lot, you connected the different creative industries with the advertising industry as well. And one question came in my mind. What do you think, because I had a feeling that you are a kind of old school guy, and what do you think about this AI boom, which is front of us?
Yeah, well, I mean, in my last agency, we were working with AI. We were starting to create AI products, and it's a massive, massive shift in the world of agencies, but it's a massive shift, frankly, in every aspect of work and creativity. I suppose I like to try and remain positive about it, and technology can be used in good or bad ways. Maybe it can be a democratizing force. Maybe it means that more people can do things because of AI who couldn't previously have that opportunity. But it's a concern as well, you know. Will it take people's jobs? You know, will you need designers still? My daughter is studying design at Goldsmiths University in London, but you're kind of wondering, wow, will there be designers? Will that still exist? But I think we all have to be positive. There's been other technological changes, and it feels like creativity has always emerged through it. We just got to make sure we stay in charge of it. So it does what the humans want rather than telling the humans what to do.
And what about the democratizing situation, or the democratizing of the electronic music and the fashion world? What do you think, the AI will help us in this field, or maybe push us in a different direction?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I would like to think it can create opportunities for people. As I said in my keynote earlier, it's just really worrying that once upon a time it used to be easier to get into worlds like fashion and music than it is today. You know, it's actually harder for people from low socioeconomic backgrounds to get into these fields. In the UK, if you come from a low socio-economic background, it's actually easier to get a job in law or finance than fashion or music, which feels crazy and completely back to front. But I kind of think maybe if you get AI in the hands of the right people, kind of young people who are just very entrepreneurial and maybe want to do things with it that it's not supposed to do. It's about kind of being rebellious and using technology in ways that maybe older people or more people in the establishment positions aren't going to think of how to use it.
Okay. And my last question, which country, which city is your favorite? Because you had different agencies in different part of the world, but I really don't know how you did it. It's amazed me, but which area of this world is your favorite?
I'll give you a different answer. My head's very easily turned with cities. If I spend some time in a city, I quickly decide it's my favourite city. I'm always going to fly the flag for London because it's the city I'm from. But I've also just got an endless obsession with New York. I know it's not quite the New York of days gone by. It's a gentrified New York, but I still love it. It still feels like it has a real energy to the place. So, yeah, obvious choices.
And where you feel yourself more inspired? Where you get your inspiration?
Being out in cities and doing things that I'm less familiar with. So I actually wrote a lot of this book in LA. I spent 3 months in LA. And I know LA pretty well, but I just made the effort to go to bits of LA that I'd never been to before. I just find that really motivating. And sometimes you go and do really amazing things. Sometimes you just see everyday things. I love trying to put yourself out of your comfort zone. That's where good ideas come from, whatever city you're in.
And what is your motivation wishing for the next generation?
To keep doing good, interesting, creative things and to sort of break the rules, really. I mean, all the people that have done good things, whether it's in music or fashion or art or advertising, they've all kind of broken the rules to some degree. You know, don't do what other people tell you. Kind of tear up the rules and come at it your own way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is that good?
Good.
Cool.
No?
Thank you.